happy Tuesday. Thanks for joining me for a craft night with friends. My name is Alyssa Thomas from Penguin and Fish, where we make cute embroidery kits for beginners. And I'm here every weeknight, Monday through Friday at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. And it's a time that we can relax and craft together. So we are sewing a quilt block again. We are working on the Splendid Sampler 2 quilt along. This is the 25th unfinished block left. So I just looked at my little list here. I think it says unfinished 25. So after this one, we will have 24 unfinished ones out of 100. So we're working our way through. Tonight we are going to be sewing a pile of itty bitty tiny 1-inch squares to the corner of some rectangles. So that is the plan. Thanks again for joining. Let's get sewing. Okay, you guys, here's where we left off. We are working on the Metropolis block, and let's see. Oh gosh, get all of the templates out. So here we are. We are working on this one tonight, and we've got a good start already. I mean, it actually looks like we have a lot done. All we really need to do yet, it's actually a lot of work yet. We cut all our pieces yesterday, and that's a big, big step. And then we actually sewed the corners. So we made these out of squares, and we sewed other squares to those squares, and that turned out to yield some triangles, basically. And then if you rotate them all, they end up being the corners. So what we're doing today is we are going to turn all these rectangles. So there's 4 sets of 2 rectangles. So there's 8 rectangles total. And we have to put on these itty-bitty, like we're going to be putting on these like itty-bitty corners, which will make them both, like them pointy, basically. Hey, Kate and Cassie. All right, so pretty straightforward. It's actually the same process we used yesterday. So I'm going to take, we got our pieces cut already, which is for sure half the battle. So I'm going to take the pieces, so there's 16 because we're putting 2 on each of our 8 pieces. And what I'm going to do is, well, I think we'll just, you know what? I think what we're going to do is just get all the other pieces out of the way. So we're just dealing with the ones. Let's put them all upright. In this case, it doesn't really matter that we keep it organized between one fabric and the other, but I don't know, might as well just keep it together. So I'm going to put one of these 16 on a corner, and I'm going to just do the same action for each piece. That's what's going to make it go a little bit faster, just repeating actions. And I'm going to fold it down on the diagonal, and what this is going to do is just show me a diagonal. So if I just kind of finger press it a little bit there, and I unfold, I can see a diagonal right there, and that's what I'm going to be sewing along. So that is the plan. So I'm going to, I don't know, should we sew and then do another one? Or I think let's just get a whole pile of them ready. I kind of like that better, having tons at the ready, and then we can sew them all at once. So let's just kind of make our grid of 8 here. Ooh, these are pretty close. The right side and wrong side on these are pretty similar, so I gotta pay attention to that. We want right sides together. And my white that I'm using is, doesn't have a right side or a wrong side. So if you are using a different fabric than white, which I'm sure most everyone else is, then you'll want to do like right sides together. Your typical right sides together. So I could just draw with pencil on all these too, and actually now I'm wondering if that might be a little bit faster, but I don't know. I don't want to do that. So we're just going to fold away today. So hope everyone is having a lovely evening. Just a reminder, we're doing our watching live special again. So if you order $20 or more from the shop, from penguinandfish.com, while we're live, or, a bit after, about 15 minutes after, I will throw in a free mystery gift. You don't have to add it to your cart or anything. I'm just going to check the times at when purchases are made, and I'll just throw one in your order. And we just implemented it. It might not be anything to anyone, but for me, it was nice to get done, and I think it's kind of cool. But now if you're on one of our kit listings, there are some add-on items like the PDF of the kit, the PDF pattern, and some other goodies, and they are on sale when you get them with the kit itself. So you'll see those right on the if you're on the actual kit page where it has the big images of the kit and the description, on those pages there'll be little special add-on deals, including a cheaper version of the PDF, because I know some people, when they get the kit, they like to get the PDF as well. So now when you get both, they are discounted there. So, all right. One more to go here. And then we're going to sew them all. So there was a suggestion yesterday, what was it? To sew them all and then press. So I got to sew and press, and then do the other side, because we got to do the other corner too. So sewing and pressing that as well before trimming the edges. And I thought that sounds like a good idea. That sounds like a time saver. So we're gonna do that. All right, and there's our little diagonal guides. The other 8 are for the other corner here, because we're gonna make pointy corners, but we got to do them one at a time. So, all right, let's just shimmy sham through this. So I have a leader already on. I'm gonna have to get another one for the end. But let's start sewing. And I'm gonna just grab these. I'm just trying not to move them as I go. But since they're so little, that's why I like little pieces like this. They just kind of stick together, which is cool, versus having to deal with long, big, giant, floppy pieces of fabric. It's kind of fun making these small little blocks. Out of the way there. So we're making our little chain piece parade here. Yep, and I got my iron heating up. Good. I'm using the brightest orange thread, which, is probably not smart. Maybe I should just freaking order some thread is what I should do. All I have left of my nice sewing thread is either bright blue, really, really dark bright blue, or all of these oranges. Maybe I should just splurge and buy a neutral, a nice gray or a nice cream color. Maybe it's time. Maybe it's time that, with all these quilts I'm doing, maybe I need to get back to some neutral thread. But right now we're using the bright orange. That's fine, but you may be able to see it a little bit when I press these seams and everything, but meh, I don't care. All right, I need a leader to finish this up, so I got some of my dark and light squares here. I'll just keep these nearby. These are recycled, or just pieces of clothing that I'm upcycling. Oh gosh, is there really a right and wrong side of this fabric? I don't know. It's so much lighter than these quilting weight cottons, and stretchier. But there we go. All right, let's grab a scissors. Let's do a pretty red scissors today. All right, I'm gonna trim this off, and there's our chain of bits here. Oh, cut after you sew both. Exactly, I think that's what I'm gonna do. Kate and Cassie, how many quilts have I made? Oh, like I could cut this after. I do that sometimes where I cut the chain piecing after, and I just kind of feel like I fumble around a little bit. And in this case, I'm not like pinning down these squares or anything. But you can actually, I could have actually sewn. Oh wait, no, maybe I have to press these first. I have to press these before I can sew the other corners on, because I need it to fold up. If I sew the other corner, on without pressing, then they'll both be kind of like this one will be kind of glued in there, I think, a little bit. Yeah, I think I'll be stuck. So I got to do the pressing first here. All right, let's do this. Ooh, Michelle, the quilter says, hello everyone, I ordered the book recently. Oh, you made a few of the Splendid Sampler 1 blocks. Awesome! Many pieces to this block. Yeah, this one isn't even nearly as bad, or not bad, but like as many pieces as a whole pile of these. So oftentimes people will trim this little excess edge off first, which, then you just end up with, your seam allowance. I'm actually going to press it first because then I can use this extra bit as a guide. And I'm going to sit down the iron for that. I like using both hands so I want to like square up this edge in case I sewed crooked, which is often. But there, now I know, because this rectangle square, and I can match it up with the corner because I didn't cut it yet, and then I can just squish this down right where it is. So I'm kind of changing the fold of it a little bit, but it's just a little bit nicer. So I gotta do that for all the rest of these, and I think I gotta set the iron down each time because I like doing this with both hands. But yeah, so I think I won't trim. We gotta trim that excess off, but I won't do that till I have the other piece sewn, just because I think we can combine those steps, and whenever you can combine a step, I think it speeds up the whole process. Ooh, that one was sewn well. That one folds right up to where it needs to be. Oh, Gretchen says, I miss doing the Splendid Sampler. It is fun doing all these separate little blocks, but man, I think the value of the book, I mean, if you're like, oh my God, I'm never gonna sew 100 blocks. I know a bunch of you guys have been doing this whole process over the years with me, working through these books. But I think the beauty of the book on its own is that I kind of feel like any of the blocks from either book, the first one or the second one, they're great on their own. Like, you could make a whole quilt of just one of these blocks, it literally, and with multiple. So like, you could actually take any one of these blocks, and most of them are so intricate and got some fun stuff going on that you could actually enlarge them and make a whole quilt that's just a single block. I think that would be so cool. But all the blocks you could, instead of doing all different blocks, you could just do, like, I'm going to do 20 of this one block, and that's going to be my quilt. So you can pick your favorite blocks or your favorite block, and then just make multiples of those, which would make cutting easier, sewing easier, all that if you're doing the same block, multiples of the same block. We're definitely making it hard for ourselves doing one itty bitty block at a time, cutting it one at a time and all that. All right, we got one more, and then we'll do that second corner. I'm actually hoping that we can finish this today, this block. So this will be a 2-day block, 2-hour block. All right, there we go. Oh, how many quilts have I made? I mean, not zillions, not like how I know some quilt people for sure. I could actually probably count them if I thought hard about them. Let's call it like 20 though. Like, I don't think I've made more than, well, let's say somewhere in between 20 and 30. Like now that I think about it, I'm like, oh yeah, I made that little quilt and this little quilt and whatever. So I think maybe I've done a few more than I think, but let's say somewhere between 20 and 30. I'm definitely learning in the learning realm of free motion quilting. That's something I'm trying to get better at, actively practicing, and that's like this project is that a little bit. All right, what I'm doing now is I'm doing the same thing. I'm folding the corner, but now, we did this corner, now we're going to do the other side of the rectangle. So our rectangle is still hidden underneath here, because we haven't cut this yet, so there's our rectangle. We're just doing the other corner, and that's going to be super cute. We'll get our little pointy, colorful fabric now by doing that, which I think is neat. And then the rest of the white will kind of blend into these blocks. So then you'll just like kind of visually be looking at the color thing and not these squares anymore. So as soon as we get these corners, this set of 8 corners sewn and then trimmed, we're just at final assembly on this thing already. So that's kind of cool. Oh, Michelle the Quiltler says, I agree about the blocks. Very versatile. They also increase my accuracy with piecing. Yes. So that is, I should actually mention, that is another thing about working through these projects. I feel like I have gotten so much better at piecing. Actually, everything about quilting, period. About making blocks, period. Whether it's applique, needle turn applique, piecing, cutting, I feel like I have drastically improved all of my skills related to quilting by working on these projects 100%. And especially with the accuracy with piecing, like what you said, because you get immediate feedback on how well your seam allowance is, so how good your piecing is, because these are all ending up as 6.5-inch squares. So if you sew a whole pile of pieces together and then it does the measurements off, like it's not 6.5 inches, it's closer to 6 inches, or it's closer to 7 inches, then oh dang, I'm either making my seam allowance too big or small. So it allows you to like practice and adjust as you go, like something to improve on. Like it's immediate feedback in all aspects of quilting, what you need work on. And then it's like, well, there's got to be a trick for this. So then you start doing research and all that. And so I've definitely improved this whole time. Linda's asking, why didn't I cut the first triangle off? Now that I'm thinking about it, I probably should. Someone mentioned yesterday that, I could sew them both on and then cut them both at the same time. But now I'm thinking it actually might be hard. Like, I'm going to have extra bulk here. And if this is here with a seam, it actually might be hard to lift this up. You know what? I think you're right. I am going to go ahead and cut these. I think it's just going to be a little bit more bulkier there and hard to cut this other piece. So let's do it. Let's do it. So I'm going to flip back the top piece, trim it to about a 1/4 inch seam allowance. All right, so we're doing this again. And now I'm just going to replace my 1/4 inch there. Yeah, that's making me feel better. Maybe I can do it with that piece hanging on there yet. I probably could have trimmed it right at the end, but that seems touchy. We're just going to do it. I wimped out on giving that a go. but oh well. So I'm doing the kitty scratching. Oh, I haven't said that term in a while. So like if these are not perfectly matched up, like this line, instead of like lifting it up and putting it back, which you still might not get perfect, you can kitty scratch the fabric. And that's just where like, that's what we've been calling it. That's not a real term. I don't think that's what we call it here. But hey, if that term spreads, I'm all for that. But it's like if you want to, like if you scratch like the top of a kitty's nose or something, you know, just little scritches like that, and it will move the fabric just a teeny bit. So like you can see, like this is a little bit off, but if I just scratch it, kitty scratch it, it'll go into place. It's like you can move fabric with like little motions. So we call that kitty scratching. Literally not a real term, but I think it's appropriate. But yeah, the little scratches just to get the fabric to match up without having to lift the whole thing up again. Amy says good choice to trim first. Yeah, once I was putting them on there, I'm like, we should just go for it. But yeah, Linda, when you said that, I was like, oh yeah, that seam's going to go all the way to there, and it's going to be hard to fold back. Yeah. All right. Last one, and then we can sew again. We'll just do this guy first. Out of here, little dudes. Okay. Kitty scratch that into place. And let's do it. So on the diagonal again. Oh, so now here's one of the deals. It's a lot easier to, like if we're sewing, it's a lot easier to sew diagonals like this or corners when you have a nice long straight edge going into the machine first. So I'm actually going to sew in this direction instead of like my normal, like this direction would feels more normal to me. But we're going to do it with the long edge in front. Oops, and I just lifted this up and not the rest of it. And the machine will just catch, since the feed dogs are right here, it'll catch the top fabric sooner. So it's just going to help guide the fabric through a little bit better by going on the side with that long edge. All right, who else has the "It's Corn" song in their head? It is just, it's been living there all day today. And it's the state fair time, so I feel like they've been, like, I've been hearing it because of that too, and man, I don't know. I'm not even sure I've seen the actual one. I saw the video of that kid with the corn before it got turned into a song, and I'm like, oh my god, that video's funny. And then John told me that it was a whole song and stuff, and now it's just like everywhere. I can't get it out of my head. All right, let's see. I got 3 more here. Let me know if any of you guys know what I'm talking about. You're on TikTok, I'm sure. Oh, Kate and Cassie says, me. Yeah. My brain keeps yelling, it's corn. It's corn. Just look at this stuff. All right, anyway. I gotta stop. Yell at me. Sylvia says no clue. Google, like, "It's Corn" song, and I'm sure it'll pop up, but tons of other stuff will pop up too, and you'll be like, why is this anything? Because that's what it is. It's literally like, why is anyone watching this? This is the dumbest thing. But it's one of those viral-y things that just is everywhere now. It started with this little, like a video of this little kid presumably at the fair or something. And he's being interviewed by whoever. I don't know the whole story. Like, by like, hey, what do you like about the fair? Do you like, what's your favorite food or whatever? And he's eating a corn on the cob. And he starts going off on how corn is so awesome. And he's just freaking out at how corn is just like the best thing ever. And then someone, it's actually the same people who do a lot of other viral songs and stuff on the webs for like a long time. But anyway, they ran with this little kid's video that was so cute and turned it into a song. And now that song is all over, and it's already being spoofed and redone a zillion times and in other versions of it. So the song itself has gone viral from the first viral video. It's just crazy. Oh, Kate and Cassie says I saw the interview too before the song, and I'm like, this kid's crazy. Yeah. Not crazy, but just like so cute, and it was actually really sweet. It was more than really sweet. It was really sweet. And then his like grandma or someone sitting next to him, and the camera pans to her, and she's just kind of giggling at him too. But it's just so cute to see people passionate about something. And this kid was passionate about how amazing corn on the cob basically is, and telling us all the reasons why. So it's just a sweet video. Oh God. Anywho. Something to Google when we're done here. But if you do Google it, Google also its corn original video or whatever, because then you can probably find the original like little interview with this kid who's just so excited, and he's just the cutest. Anyway, enough of that. Kate and Cassie says, I know my favorite line from like the interview was, I tried it with butter and then everything changed. I was like, I hear you, kid, right? I tried it with butter and everything changed. Gretchen's asking, isn't Minnesota's signature thing corn? I have no idea. But that is, when I go to the fair, I have like an agenda when it comes to food. I haven't been to the fair in a while, but when I go to the fair, I get a pretzel from the pretzel guy. He's like hand doing like pretzels and cooking them right there, and they're just delicious. And then I get some corn. So they do have a huge corn on the cob stand. It is definitely one of the big things of the fair. I don't know if it's a whole state big thing. I don't know. It could be. I don't know. And then got to go to the beer area because they have a whole pile of local beers. And you can get like a bunch of different flights. So got to do that. But the real deal is all that's in the middle of, you start at like the sheep and the llamas and the chickens and all that. You start at the animals, then you gotta walk all the way across the whole dang fair to get to the other side where the art barn and the craft barn are. And that's the important things. You gotta get the animals, and then you gotta get the crafts and the arts, and pretzels and corn and beer are in the middle. So that's... If you hit those things, that's just 5 things, people. 5 things done with the fair. You're good to go. That's all there is for my agenda when I go to the fair. There's a whole lot more to the fair, but that's my agenda. I don't know if we'll go this year. Probably not. What's going on right now? I think it started earlier this week. Yeah, I would kind of, Arlene, consider Iowa more corn claimants. You guys, I can't get the corn song out of my head. Oh, Kate and Cassie says, I'm debating on going to the state fair. I think they're fun. And we're lucky because the state fair, which are, the big fun ones, it's literally kind of a few miles away. I mean, still a little bit of a drive, but, close. Oh, Gretchen says, I just looked it up. How cute. The corn kid. Oh, God. Lynn says, I need to see the cows and the draft horses. Ooh, draft horses. Those are fun. At the Wisconsin State Fair. You have to get a cream puff. Yep, Wisconsin State Fair. You gotta get that cream puff. That's the Wisconsin one for sure. Definitely. And then there's like on a stick everything, but I don't really care. I want my pretzel, I want my corn on the cob, and I want the beer area, my beer flight. That's all I need from the fair, as far as food. I can't say corn anymore without immediately going, it's corn, in my head. Okay, you guys, we got our pointy little bits right here. Let's get all these guys over here. Oh, Kate and Cassie says, I heard at this one you could spin wool into yarn. Oh, now that you say that, in the craft barn, and I don't even know if they call it the craft barn. I call it the craft barn and the art barn. They're kind of next to each other, but they're completely different vibes altogether. But I think last time we went, they did have some demos. I don't know if they were doing... I don't know if they were doing spinning on the wheel, but it was some other like interesting demo. So I think you could try some things out. Last time I went, and it all depends like what day you go. Like if you go on a weekend or whatever, like a super popular. I mean, there's stuff every day for sure, but like when there's more family and kids and stuff, I'm thinking they do more things. All right, let's lay this guy out. So. I don't remember what side we had these on, but let's just, I'm kind of laying the whole thing out yet, and I'm maybe jumping the gun already. Yeah, I'm jumping the gun. Let's just go one at a time here. What I need to do is match up, this will make sure I'm consistent too. I need to match up these two in pairs, and they're all the same. So let's do, we got the kind of like, they're both very subtle, and that's like the whole quilt is a little subtle like that. But like, so this one has a little light texture, and then this one has those big circles that are kind of getting cut off. So I need to sew those in pairs. Here we go. Here's the last one. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, we do actually have a point that we need to match up, but I'm hoping they just match up and I don't have to really match them up. So like if I fold these together, I think it'll automatically match up. We'll have like a bit right here, and we want those points to be the same. But I think as long as I make sure that when I sew, those edges are matched, which they should be, I'm just not going to worry about it, I don't think. But I am noticing, oh, I know, and then these points we don't have to match it up right now either because those are on the outer edge. See, I feel like with some of these patterns, I'm like, oh, this designer, they were thinking through for me, so I didn't have to match anything up. So that's kind of nice. All right, so how did I do this? Let's make sure that I got these right. Because I don't want them flipped the other way. I want to do the same. So all right, let's just go like this. I'm going to fold it in half and bring it over, and we'll do that with each one. And we'll just sew down the line here. Testing our seam allowance. I'm not 100% that I'm doing the seam allowance all that well, like to the 6.5, or to the like, 1/4 inch or 6 millimeters. So I guess we'll measure this when we're done and see how we did how close we are to a 6.5 inch square. Oh, yeah. I already did that seam goofy. All right. Sylvia says beer flight, definitely. And it's all like local beers and stuff. Ugh, that'd be fun. I would almost go just to sit around and have a beer flight. Oh, that's not quite enough to negate like just the mass amount of people and all that. It's a lot. Like if you want to go somewhere and know it's gonna suck all your energy, then go to the fair. But it's still fun, and I do like looking at all the quilts and the crafts and all the crocheted things. Ooh, all the like apple pies and cherry pies and all that stuff too. And they have honeybees there, and they're always doing like demos on that. That's always kind of fun. Man, maybe I do like more stuff at the fair. I do try and avoid the rides though. Luckily those are all pretty much on one end. All right, let's get another leader here. And we'll trim these guys up. Oh, we gotta press them too. See, I always forget, like in my head, I'm like, oh, we just have to sew this to this and then we're done. But then I'm like, oh, we gotta press and all those middling steps that I forget about and that then annoy me. So let's trim these and then press them. Ooh, and what are the directions for pressing? Okay, we're gonna press them open. And actually, I'm just looking at these and they wanted us to press the seam allowances in. Huh. Interesting. So maybe I'll go back and I'm just looking at the pressing instructions, and the arrow has these pointed in. So they naturally are pointed out like this because we started with a square that we just cut. So it's kind of actually odd to have them point on the inside. But I suspect they're just trying to point it to the darker color. I don't know if there's a real reason other than that, but we'll follow the directions. So I'll put those inward. Then what about these? These? No, these are still outward. So these are the normal way I would think to press. And then the current seam, this one we press open. But there we go, our little pointy fabric combo is started there. I didn't trim all these, did I? No. Oh, what's a flight? Sylvia, it's just like where you get a bunch of smaller cups, like just itty bitty ones, like maybe 3 or 4 in a row. And they're all different. And so, then they explain to you the differences between them and, maybe like, if it's a wine flight, like what food it goes well with and all that. So it's a way to try a bunch of beers and just see the different, like for the kind of the purpose of like comparing them and seeing what you like and all that. So that's what a flight is. And they do it for like wine. Like if you see like a wine flight, they'll give you like a bunch of little glasses of wine, and then they usually come with like a little explainer for each different one. So that it's a way to learn, I think, more than anything. It's a way to learn, or just to have a bunch of tiny little beers that are all different, which is fun. I think it's more common as a wine flight, but actually, I don't know. I think a beer flight's probably pretty common now. And then, they usually have, at least in my memory of getting beer flights there, they'll have it's a whole area of the fair. But they'll, have a bunch of different ones, so I'll get, most likely the IPA. I like IPAs. we'll get that one, and then maybe John will get like a stout one, so we'll get a try. We'll each get to like try a bunch. This is funny. So I did make this on the white, but look at that haze of orange behind, because I'm using this freaking bright orange thread, which is a goofy thing to use. I should use some matching thread, but we are gonna have like this kind of halo almost of orange behind there, which is kind of goofy. Theoretically not ideal, but you know, this quilt doesn't have to be ideal. So it'll be kind of fun seeing that through, but that's why that's happening. So if I used like a cream color thread is probably the most ideal for this project, because I have mostly whites and creams. But I'm out of that thread pretty much. All right, hot. And last one. And then I guess I'll press those other seam allowances the other direction. I think that's a weird extra step, because that's not the natural way for those seams to want to be, but we'll do it. I'm in pressing mode now. Get in there. Ooh, Carol said, yeah, it's like a sampler. Logan's had one with flavored moonshines. Okay, I'd be freaking down for that for sure. Oh, Kittens Cozy Creations with Kathy. Kathy's saying, don't they have some cookies that are supposed to be so great? So yeah, so if you're a Minnesota State Fair person, you will definitely know I think they're, I always want to say Aunt Martha, but that's the embroidery brand, Aunt Martha. I think it's Sweet Martha's cookies. But whenever I say that, I feel like I'm not saying it right. But I think it's Sweet Martha's cookies. They make zillions of them. And it's just like, eggs, sugar, and, that's it, or something crazy. Some flour, eggs, sugar, and flour, right? It's literally that, and you buy it. I've never bought them. I'm not even sure I've tried one. It just seems like so too much for me. But like, it's a bucket about this big. So like, if we're looking from the side, like that tall, that big, filled with cookies all the way over the top too. So like straight up, and chocolate chips. So it's just straight up chocolate chip, butter, sugar cookies, right? So as basic a cookie, but piled up, and you see people just carrying those around, and they're just eating these, as individuals, like a whole bucket of cookies. It's insane. But anyway, yes, that is huge. I was going to press these ones. That's huge at the Minnesota State Fair. Definitely a Minnesota State Fair thing for sure. All right, so I'm just popping these seam allowances in the other direction per the instructions. Which, now we won't see them. Here's the difference visually. Like here, you can see the seam allowance through the white, and here you can't, because we pressed it to the darker and even more like pattern thicker fabric. So it is actually a nice look. Maybe I should do that more often. It does look better, doesn't it? It's like our seam allowance magically disappeared. Yeah, I feel like when I go to the fair, it's like, okay, we're going to be here a long time, and I don't want to be like, feel horribly sick or whatever at the fair, so let's consider what we're eating a little bit, which at the fair is tough. Although pretzel, beer, and corn, that's like not going to make me feel great either. But that did limit fried foods, and I think maybe that's key. Because everything else, I don't think you'll find anything else at the fair that's not fried. I'm sure they do have like good food areas though, like a whole food barn, I think, too. And there, I think you can really dig down to some really interesting, yummy foods. I think that would take a little bit more research though. But yeah, I think there's actually delicious, decent, wonderful food there that isn't on a stick at the food barn. I'd have to research all those places though and just be like, ooh, that looks really good. Like I'd have to search them out. I do like having a plan and searching things out that I wanted to see at the fair. All right, now all those are in the same direction. Now we can finish this guy up. So, all right, all these, this is our middle square. All these corners point in. Just double checking. Okay, and now all these are nice. So all we have to do now, since we've already matched them up, all we have to do is point the white parts outward. There we go. So all we have to do now is we have our 9 patch. So what that means, it's a pretty common thing in quilting. It just means we have a set of 3 columns and 3 rows going on here. And with the chain piecing, how I like doing it is sewing the first 2 columns together row by row. So we'll sew those 2, then these 2, then these 2. And then I'll take this section off the machine and sew that onto it, this section off the machine, sew that, and then this section off the machine and sew that. And then we got to do a whole pile of pressing, and then we can sew the 2 rows. But that's kind of my general process for that. And then I can always have something on the sewing machine. I don't have to snip something off. And I don't think, it doesn't look like we have to match anything up. Geez, this is not ending in the same spot, but oh well. Yeah. Like I said, the designer made it so we don't have to match up points or do anything like that. So that's going to make it easy for us. I'm just going to grab pieces and we'll sew. So I just have to hold them in the same direction and then flip them and don't twist them around or get all discombobulated as I go. Otherwise I'll have to lay it out again. So kitty scratching a little bit. There you go. So I'm going to try, like I said, chain piecing all these again so they can stay on the machine. Which makes it just where it saves time and cutting and all that. Ooh, I sewed that one maybe kind of large. All right, then this row. I'm also sewing these upright, so when I cut them off, I'll know what direction they go in if I get confused. All right, so that's the 3. Now let's do, I'm going to cut off this leader. Let's cut that off. You can live over here. And I'm going to cut just the first row off. Open that up. Yep, and now let's grab the last one from there. After this, we'll press them all, take it off the machine and press them, and then we'll just have our 3 rows to put together. All right, I'm going to take the next one off. So this is our center row. Okay. And the last feller. Bottom row. I still have the corn song in my head. Oh, I'm looking for my leader. I have it here already. Okay, so row 1, 2, and 3. There you go. 1, I love how it just like gets smaller. Oh yeah, that's my deterrent to Kate and Cassie for sure. Just the amount of people and I don't know, just everywhere. All right, let's see. So this row and this row, we are going to press these seam allowances outward. And this row, we're going to press the seam allowances inward. And that will allow us to nest our seams so we can get like perfect little connections here, like where this line here matches up perfectly with this line. That should help with that. So I'm going to just flip this over. This one goes outward. Gotta kind of avoid all these other seams too. So I'm just kind of like lifting up and pushing down. Let's flip you over. All right, there we go, bottom row. Okay, I'm going to do this one just like that. Scooch all these up. That's up top. And now this center one, I'm going to press the seam allowances inward. I think I'll get the clips out and we'll clip these together when we sew them. So here's really the only thing that we've had to match up in this piece is when I want to sew the seam right here, so I'm going to put the right sides together. But I want to match up this seam, these seams here, and I've pressed them in opposite directions, so you can see like one of these seams is going this way and one is going the other way. You can actually feel the folds of both of them like touching, and that's what we want. And by doing that, once we press them open, we should just have like a perfect seam going straight down instead of like stair stepping, like instead of being like, like off like that. So that's the goal, is to have them match up. And since we have two, we have this one and this one. So we have this seam and this seam that we want to match. The first, like if it was just one, I could probably do it with just holding it, but I want to just make sure, so I'm going to clip. I'm just going to throw a clip on the second one. And maybe the first one too. Yeah, let's just do it. So like you literally should be able to feel those folds matching up. And then the edge as well. We need to match this edge still. And then we'll do that to this one. So I'm just looking at the time, you guys. We might go a hair over tonight because I'm not going to leave this guy hanging. We are going to get him done. But all that pressing, all that stuff takes time. So I'm going to sew this part first, and then we'll match up this piece, and then we'll do all the pressing. Alright, lots of seams here, so I'm just going to get the stiletto there to hold that seam that we matched up. We're getting to the second one. Again, I'm just going to hold this there. This feels funny, but I think we're fine. All right, we gotta get a leader on here again, so let's grab another. There we are. Boop. Look, and we made like 3 leaders, during this time. We'll have one more actually, and again, we're making a whole nother project with these of half square triangles that we'll be sewing together eventually. All right, what do we got here? Let's see how we did. Okay, yeah, that's looking right. It super matches up right there. And then, ooh, this side does too. Yay! I love when I can get those to match up, both of them. Doesn't always happen, but that looks real good. All right, so let's do this one. I'm going to flip this up here. And now let's match those seams again. I'm going to match this second one first. Kind of don't know why. Let's do it this way. I've seriously yelled, "It's corn," in my head about 50 times this evening. Oh, God. All right, boop. Oh, happy birthday, Wanda. Yeah, Wanda says, I have some of these clips and just love them. I do too. I use them for all sorts of stuff. They're so strong. Like, they're surprisingly, like, I can throw this around and feel confident that they're not coming off, which is always nice. All right, boop. All right, this is it. Last seam of the block. Then we can press and see how close we got to the 6.5 inches. Alright, and I think I'll just do the other side of this later instead of starting a new one. Alright, ooh, that one got a little goofy, but let's see, what do we got? Oh, what side did I just sew? I can't tell because all of these seams look great. You guys, it feels like I haven't done, like I haven't nested a seam together in like months and months, which is crazy. But you know what? I think we have been doing just a lot of applique pieces, like applique blocks. So we haven't had to like sew a 9-patch together like this. Just feels so. It feels like just. Like I'm revisiting something from ages ago, you know? All right, let's give it a final squish. And then I do want to measure it still. It's definitely, I mean, we got a lot of diagonals here. I can definitely tell that it's a little stretchy on those bits, but that would make sense. So just really squishing it. All right, let's see, but it's looking cute. It's always interesting to see how it turns out. Like when I'm looking at it from far away, I'm really seeing these corner lines, and I'm like my eyes are like finishing the line, so it almost looks like an X, like a flower within the X almost. All right, let's get. I have a 6.5-inch ruler. Let's see how close we are. A little shy, but not too bad. I'm always like maybe a 1/16 to an 1/8 of an inch off on the edges. There's lots of pieces in this for sure, and I think some of this I could press a little bit better, and we'd get a little bit more square. And I mean, I'm happy with that. But yeah, what that means, like if I wanted it to be exactly 6.5, what that means is I'm sewing my seam allowances a teeny bit too big, like a teeny bit too fat, which means there's more in the seam allowance and less on the front fabric, the good fabric, making the whole thing a bit shorter, right? So if I really wanted this to be closer to the 6.5 inches, I would just make my seam allowance just like the literal hairest smaller. And I feel like I'm kind of wobbling all over with my sewing anyway, which is something I want to keep working on. That, you know, I'm not going to be able to gauge that hair very well. But that is definitely something to work on some more, and you get, like I said, that immediate feedback. You know, if we had like 10 squares here, which we've had like 10 little 1-inch or less squares and sewn together, then you really get a look at how far off you are, because there's tons of seam allowances. But anywho, oh, Sharon, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm happy to have you here tonight, though. Nice seeing you, for sure. Sending good sparkles your way. All right. Yep, seam allowances need to be a bit small, like a scant 1/4-inch seam allowance would fix it. Exactly. I have had to learn this new machine's foot a little bit differently, so I haven't, I could put like the magnet there and practice with that a little bit. I'm not sure I've actually measured with my 1/4-inch measuring tool how far away it is from the foot, and that's something I should just do again if we are doing a bunch of sewing again like this. But anyway, I think we got that done with that just on time. So here we are. It looks so cute. Another block out of our hair. So that makes us down to 24 unfinished blocks to go yet. So we'll see. Maybe we do another one tomorrow. I'll have to see what the next one is. Otherwise, we got the rest of the week to kind of hang out and play around. And then next week, we'll be starting the owl, the letter O, so the O, which is the owl embroidery for the ABC quilt. And yeah, that'll be next week, which is also September. September is later this week, so we'll have a new embroidery of the month soon. So if you were wanting to get the last month's with the freebie, yeah, a couple more days for that, I think. So awesome. Thanks again, guys. Nice to see you. I will talk to you again tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. Good night.